That's the old passage to Ravenholm. We don't go there anymore.
Words that scared 6th grade me. Ravenholm is one of the most iconic levels in not just Half-Life, but in gaming as a whole. When I think of popular levels, or I guess you could call playgrounds, Ravenholm is one of the most scary settings for a video game. But you know what else is more cool? The surprising amount of content there is. From stuff cut from Half-Life 2 to even whole games relating to Ravenholm, this video will cover most of it, hopefully. So let's talk about Half-Life's most iconic level, and also, if you disagree, please don't at me. Ravenholm was actually one of the first levels planned for Half-Life 2. I'm gonna blow your mind, okay? Did you know this level was going to take place in the daytime? Well, I guess now you do. This level was also supposed to be before Black Mesa East instead of after it like it is in the final game, which would mean that you would probably got there during sundown, which kinda lines up with the it was going to take place in daytime idea. Now, there are a lot of different versions of this level. For the sake of this video, let's just use the E3 2003 tech demo for this as an example. While I could explain the others, that will make me sound like a nerd, and you definitely have a good enough attention span to go on a website and read a few paragraphs. For starters, there are Combine soldiers here, and considering that the lore of this build is probably different than what we were going to get, it would probably mean there were going to be Combine soldiers here. Which, now that I think about it, sounds very odd and uncanny. Any trap is shown that swings and kills anything that touches it, which is cool, but it doesn't really feel like it would belong anywhere else in the level, so I think that's why it was cut. Because if you look in the final game, traps are kind of reused occasionally, so they probably just want to get more use out of this thing, but they really couldn't find a spot to use it, so they just cut it. There's this variant of a vending machine that whenever you hit it, it spits out a bunch of soda cans, and honestly, you could probably get diabetes if you drink all the cans that spat out. The progression of the chapter has changed a lot during the development as well. The mines section was originally going to be in the middle of the chapter instead of the end, and also included this car called the Digger. And if you played the 2000 leak of this game, you know this car feels like stubbing your toe by accident when you wake up in the morning. And the last thing I'll mention are these early names, which are on screen right now. Now these are probably just placeholders because I think calling this place something as basic as town is very off-putting and not right. These are probably just placeholders. Overall, this stuff is really interesting and was really fun to read about. Now, what about the cancelled games about Ravenholm? Okay, this is probably going to be the shortest part of the video because we don't really know much about this game, but we do know some things about this game. 1. We probably know that this was going to happen before Half-Life 2 rather than after. 2. There's something called a magnet gun, which was apparently much different from the gravity gun. And 3. There was 2 characters called Scooter and Duncan. Yep, that's all we know. There's probably some more somewhere on the internet, but these were all from interviews with Warren Spector, which was the creative lead on this project, so I guess you now know. Also, if that name sounds familiar to you, he also worked on the Deus Ex games and Epic Mickey. For some reason, God, could you imagine fanfiction of JC and Mickey Mouse? Good lord. This game was cancelled by Valve, and eventually Disney bought Junction Point, which meant they couldn't even work on this game even if they wanted to. Now let's talk about the best part of this video that has the most in-depth detail by one of my favorite game developers. Okay, this one has a lot more to talk about. After the cancellation of Junction Point's expansion, Arcane, or otherwise known as the studio behind Prey 2017 Dishonored, took their idea with a different spin on it. First of all, this game was going to take place during that one-week teleport in Half-Life 2 from Nova Prospekt to Anti-Citizen 1 in the final game. The game was also going to star Adrian Shepard from the Half-Life expansion Opposing Force. Which, while you could say this is the quote-unquote real Opposing Force 2, I'm going to talk about why I don't think so, but I'm going to pin that conversation for later in this video. So he wakes up from stasis. Grigori tells the player you must get a radio relay working because they found a cure for the Zen infection. Plot twist, it never worked. Kill him because he's infected, and the G-Man would have probably got his hands on him again. Pretty basic plot, and also I think Grigori has a different voice. But I don't really know, but take a listen, tell me what you think.
I regret you have become part of it, and yet I confess I am gladdened by your company. Too much solitude is not good for a man who, like myself, wishes only to serve. But I have been good for nothing of late. My soul is filled with evil, and like this town, it must be purged. Now I cannot claim great wisdom, yet through much trial and error.
Now there is a lot of cut content in this, so I'll just mention the most important and cool stuff that I thought, which happened to be a lot of them, but if you want to read more, then go to the wiki in the description. First of all, there are all new variants of the zombies that don't have the head crab on them, which looks kind of uncanny to me, but whatever. There's an acid zombie and a quote-unquote zombie monkey, which reminds me of a certain game. Anyway, the mechanics of this game are nothing like we've seen before in a Half-Life game. For starters, there's a Left 4 Dead shove attack present, which is like the shove from the game Left 4 Dead. But the more I look at it, the more I realize it's much more similar to a Halo melee attack than is Left 4 Dead, because it has a lot more firepower. This was also probably intended to replace the crowbar in this game, which is kind of reasonable, or whatever melee weapon they would have gave you. Puddles of water are also very powerful in this game. Put something that conducts electricity in the water and those zombies will turn into ash. Pretty fucking cool, honestly. I love that. There are 2 new weapons in this cancelled expansion. The nail gun is basically this game's main weapon. It's used a lot in these electrical puzzles and actually seems like the gravity gun, in a sense. A utility weapon, rather than a power weapon that you could use the whole game. But it still has some firepower, if needed. The charge gun is the second new weapon in here. It's an electrical shotgun that what I think was Arcane's version of the glue-on gun, which served as a powerful weapon you use when you have big problems, of course. And the last thing I'll mention about this game is something I found really cool. In the game, there were these film projectors you can interact with around the place. These would distract the zombies and play machinima on screen that appears to be done by Arcane. Which is so stupid, I love it. Like, they didn't have to make this. Okay, let's unpin that thought at the beginning of the last section I had. While I love the idea of Ravenholm getting a full game, this game would have been kinda weird. I mean, there's obviously a lot of immersive sim elements in here which would not really make for the best Half-Life game. Plus, killing Father Grigori would probably be really sad to witness since he is a fan favorite character. As for me, I would have probably liked this game or loved it because I love anything this studio makes other than this disaster right here. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoy videos about games that run on the Source engine, you should consider subscribing. I upload about once a month, but hopefully you can wait. I hope. Okay, see you guys next time. Bye-bye!